Unless we, the people, decisively stand up, our children will continually be gunned down. There were 180 school shootings in a 10-year period, according to a CNN study ending in 2019. 356 victims were either dead or injured, but nearly 200,000 victims had to witness that violence. We, the people, have a constitutional right to domestic tranquility and justice, rights denied in the current gun culture. A recent response to this gun culture was proposed legislation for gun safety measures by a bipartisan Senate committee. We, the people, can be hopeful, but we must not forget past responses to violence, good and bad. Three particular responses can help steer us in decisively knowing where we stand. One response was to mass shootings in the past in schools in the US. Another response was to mass shootings in Great Britain. And finally, the response to Uvalde. Sandy Hook Elementary was where the AK-15 debuted in 2012 as a mass shooting device. What the NRA labeled years later as America's rifle. Martin Schreiber, a trauma surgeon, was quoted in the New York Times in 2018 in saying that the AR-15 launches a bullet 3,000 feet per second, 2 to 3 times the speed and deadliness of a handgun. The AR-15 entry point is small, but the exit is large, up to a foot wide, because of the speed. It churns tissue and shreds bone like a bomb going off. Imagine 20 bodies at Sandy Hook. The impact of that force. Not enough impact to have we, the people, take a stand. The New York Times, a couple of days after the massacre, said that the school principal and counselor, both women, tried to tackle the 20-year-old shooter, but were blasted to death. Blasted just like the 4 teachers there. You may remember a decisive tackling of a shooter, 22 years old, by Tyler Howell at UNC Charlotte. He was the last of 6 students shot 3 times as Tyler charged and then body slammed that shooter to the ground. Tyler went down a hero, and we, the people, still did not stand. Can we take a stand and tackle this issue, living in a land looming with 300 million guns? Great Britain tackled the issue twice prior to the year 2000. A mass shooter so moved the people in 1987 that they moved the parliament to ban semi-automatic rifles. Then a mass shooter in 1996 so moved the people, they moved parliament to ban handguns the same year. We in America now are faced with Uvalde. It began at 11:30 a.m., May 24th, with a teacher calling 911 to say, a man with a gun is outside the school. 5 minutes later, that 18-year-old has entered through a door unlocked at the back. He begins unloading his AR-15 into classrooms 111 and 112. Within minutes, 3 officers and then 4 more join behind where that shooter had entered, but they retreat and take cover upon receiving fire. At 12:03, there are multitudes of policemen outside holding back the parents, anxious to come inside to save their children. At 12:03, there's also a phone call to 911 with a little girl whispering. She calls again and again, and at 12:16 says that there are at least 8 or 9 classmates still alive. There are 19 police officers waiting outside the door. At 12:21, there are shots heard within classroom 112. At 12:36, the little girl calls 911 again, and then 11 minutes later calls and says, please send the police in. 19 policemen have been waiting some 40 minutes outside the door. 19 precious 4th graders are now dead on the other side of that door because of waiting and waiting and waiting. That small entry point has become a gaping hole, a wound in not just Uvalde, but throughout America. We the people, what are we waiting for? Every week since Uvalde, there have been a dozen mass shootings. This is our house. We the people need to not stand outside the door anymore. We the people need to not stand outside the door anymore.